How's it going? Dave from Comic Book Investments. Well, the year is over and now we're heading into 2022. And I bet I know what you're wondering. What are the best books to be speculating on into 2022? Well, first, let's find the actual definition of what speculation is, just so we're all on the same page. Spider-Man, what is it? It's an investment in stocks, property, or other ventures in the hope of gain, but with the risk of loss. So now that we're all on the same page, basically what it is you're hoping that these books will go up in value over the course of 2022. And yes, there are a ton of books to speculate on, and I can never actually have them all on this list. So this is going to be 10 books that I'm personally speculating on. Yes, I know there's other ones out there that could probably be, better risk reward, all that kind of stuff. But these are ones that I feel are very strong and I'm personally speculating on. So with each one of these books, I will kind of give you the risk factor involved and what I think the gain could be. And my thought, by the end of 2022, these books will be more valuable than the end of this year. So let's get into it right away. Spider-Man, what's the first one we got on the list? All right, it is Fantastic Four, number 48. This, of course, is the first appearance of Silver Surfer and Galactus. In a 7.0 back in 2020, December 2020, this sold for an average of $26.50. Now it currently sells for $4,800. That is up 81%. A 4.0 sold in December of 2020 for $12.23. Now it currently sits at $19.77. And that is up 62%. And maybe some of you guys out there, they can't afford the big key of the Silver Surfer. Well, let's see what else we got on here. I think if you can't get the 48, your next book you should try to get is the FF49. That's the second appearance of Silver Surfer. Also the appearance of Galactus in 48 and 49. If you can't quite afford that one, another good book to get would be a Silver Surfer number 1. And then they did another series later on, and you could pick up that Silver Surfer book as well. I think in future movies, you're going to have Galactus and then later down the line, Silver Surfer. And I guarantee you there's going to be some headway and some more pushing in. Hopefully we'll see something, an announcement or some kind of maybe teaser trailer of like the Fantastic Four. That probably won't happen until the very end of going into 2022. So I'm hoping we'll see something, and that will push this book even further than it is and already has gained this past year. Next, we got number 9. We got Canto number 1, a 9.8 sold back in 2020 December for $506. Now it sells for $718. That is up 42%. A 9.6 sold for $201 back in December of 2020. Now currently sits at $233. That is up 16%. Now, if you can't get the number 1, these are the other books you should go for. You should go for, in Canto number 1, there is a variant. Then there's the Canto number 1, the Frankie's variant. And then, of course, there's another Canto number 1. This is the retailers. Any of those books are good books to get. Some are cheaper than others. Some are more expensive, a little more rare. But I think you should go for the Canto number 1. Now, of course, this is Will Smith's new animation company is making this movie. There's a lot of speculation in the beginning. There hasn't been any real movement. I'm hoping this year, in 2022, we'll see some more movement on this movie. So the risk reward, I still think it's cheap right now, and I think if there's some movement, hopefully maybe a more announcement or like some still images or maybe even a trailer, I'm hoping that will happen in 2022, and that would push this book even further than it's been already. Next, we got up at number 8. We got Nemesis number 1, a 9.8 a year ago sold for $119. Now it sells for $215. That's up 81%. A 9.6 used to sell for $27. Now it sells for $140. That is up 419%. If you can't get those, try for the Nemesis number 1 dynamic press variant, or you can go with the other variant edition number 1, or you can even move down to the sketch cover, which is the 3rd printing, which is much cheaper. Now this book is super risky, but the thing is, I think the risk is worth it because it's just so cheap to get into. You can pick up these books for raw. You can throw $20 and get a number 1 ungraded, right? There's been a lot of rumors and speculation on this book over the years. I don't think in 2022 we're going to see any sort of a trailer or anything like that, but I'm hoping we'll get some more movement, maybe a director attached, maybe the script is in the hands of someone, maybe even an actor attached, some more movement on this book. I have got a lot of copies of this because they're so cheap that I think it's worth the risk. But they could pan out and be nothing because they did come out with Jupiter's Legacy and that kind of didn't do very well. People loved it, but it cost too much. So we'll see with this, Miller World thing going on. But I think it's worth the risk. All right, next up, we got at number 7, we got Static, number 1, a 9.8. Last year sold for $313. It currently sits at $324. Up 4%, a 9.6 back in 2020, December, sold for $115. Now it currently sits at $150. That is up 30%. If you can't get the Static, there's the Static number 1 Platinum Edition, a little more expensive, but definitely worth getting. You can get Static Shock number 1, Rebirth of the Cool, which is actually kind of a rare book, actually. Or you can get Static 45. It's the last book in the series and done by Mobius. That's a good book. Now this book, Michael B. Jordan is attached to direct it. I believe it's his directorial debut, and he's probably going to act in it as well. You have a big name actor like that really gunning for something like this, there's chances are it's going to get made. So I'm hoping we see a little more movement by the end of this year and it moves it even higher. I still think it's pretty cheap to get into right now, so it's definitely worth the risk. All right, moving on. We got number 6. We got Destroyer Duck number 1. This is the first appearance of Gru, the Wanderer, a 9.8. Sold in December of 2020 for $322. Now it sells for $1,025. That is up 218%. A 9.6 sold a year ago for $136. Now sells for $353. That is up 160%. If you can't get that, you can get Gru number 1 or Gru the Wanderer, the special edition. Or you can get Gru number 1, the later series. Any of those books I think are worth getting. Some are a little cheaper than the Destroyer Duck number 1. With the push of them trying to get this into an animated series or film, I think we'll see a little more movement on it. And it's just, the risk here, it's these Destroyer Ducks are so cheap that it's worth the risk. And that's why I look at it. It's like, okay, these books you can pick up for like $50 raw. You probably get a couple graded copies for not very expensive. And then I think it's worth the risk and worth holding on to. If not, if something like this never pans out, which happens all the time, you still got the first appearance of Gru, which was a massively long series, and I still think would hold its value regardless. All right, moving on. We got number 5, Usagi Yojimbo, number 1, a 9.8. A year ago, sold for $650. Now sits at $1263. That is up 94%. A 9.6 sold for $350. Now that currently sells for $364, only up 4%. If you can't get that book, I would recommend Albedo number 2, which is his first appearance, which is very expensive. If not, you can get Albedo 4, which is his first cover appearance, or then Albedo number 3, which is his second appearance overall. Now, I've been speculating this book for a long, long time. They already showed a still from the animation. I think a trailer is just around the corner. I already sent all my books out that I didn't have graded to get graded at CGC. They're sitting there now. I should get them back in the next 3 to 6 months. And I'm expecting a trailer to probably drop in the next 3 to 6 months. And I think it will just go up from there. So this is a low risk speculation because I've already seen the image. There've already been talks. They've already secured a streaming platform, everything. All we have to do is wait for the trailer. So it's a low risk, but it's already jumped up so high over the last couple years that there's not much reward in it. But I still think it's speculation because something could happen, but I still think it's going to go up, just not as high as some of these others. All right, moving on. Number 4, we got Fantastic Four number 4. This is the first Silver Age appearance of Submariner, Namor. A 6.0 sold a year ago for $4,500. Now it currently sits at $10,499. That is crazy. It's up 133%. A 2.5 sold a year ago for $775. Now it currently sits at $3,350. That is up 332%. If you can't get that, go for Submariner #1. That is a good book to get. Also, you can get Fantasy Four #6, which is not only the second appearance of Namor, but it's also the second appearance of Doctor Doom, and is the first Marvel villain team up. And if you can't get that one, get a Fantastic Four Annual #1. These are all three books that I really recommend. Now, Namor has been speculated on for a long time. That's why this book has gone way up. So the risk is actually very low on this, but nothing is for certain. A lot of people thought Mephisto was going to be in WandaVision. Never showed up. So I believe that Namor is probably going to show up in Black Panther 2. I don't know for sure, but he probably will. If not a cameo, if not a little mention, maybe the main villain. Who really knows? But I think Namor is going to come into the MCU. So whether he's not in Black Panther, the movie #2, he eventually will show up. I think this is a good book to have. Also, it's the first Silver Age appearance of Namor. You have to get this. Even if nothing happens, it'll still go up in value. All right, moving on. All right, we got the Invincible Iron Man #9. This is the first appearance of Riri, who later becomes Ironheart. A 9.8, and this is the variant edition. A 9.8 sold a year ago for $13.75. It is up to $44.29. That is up 222%. A 9.6 sold a year ago for $6.28. Now it currently sits at $1,800. That is up 186%. If you can't get the variant edition, which I recommend the most, you can get the non-variant edition. You can also get #7, which is the first kind of cameo. Think of it like Hulk 181 versus Hulk 180. And if you can't get that one, you can get the variant of #7, which is also another good book to get. Now, Riri is pretty much going to be in the MCU. How big of a role? I don't know. But I think they're really trying to push this new group, this younger group, with Kate Bishop and stuff like that. So this risk is not as high, but I still think the reward is there. I kind of look at this like, who knows? Riri could be a huge character in the MCU going forward. Show maybe in movies a lot more. That's the risk there. How popular she's going to be, I don't know. But I think you should go with the variant one because it's super rare. And just think Ultimate Fallout 4. Now, whatever hit Ultimate Fallout 4 and Ultimate Fallout 4's variant numbers? Probably not, but I still think there's a lot of room to grow there, and I think it's a very good variant to have, plus it's kind of cool cover. So, moving on. Now, this book, you're probably going, why is this on here? It doesn't really make any sense. I'll explain why. But we got #2, Hulk 181. This is the first appearance of Wolverine. A 9.0 a year ago, sold for $7,357 on average, and currently sits at $12,433. That is up 69%. A 5.0 sold a year ago, December 2020, on average for $2,600. Now it currently sits at $3,701. That is up 42%. These are actual sales numbers. It seems kind of low. It did take a dip for a bit, but if you can't get the Hulk 181, your next book you should probably go for is Giant Size X-Men #1, second full appearance of Wolverine, and of course full appearance of all the X-Men. If not, you got the Hulk 180, and if you can't get that one, you can go for Wolverine 1 limited series. That is his first solo series. Now you're probably wondering, why is Hulk 181 on here, right? It's not much of a speculation. Here's the thing. I think the speculation is, I think by the end of this year, of 2022, we are going to see some movement on the X-Men franchise coming into the MCU. Might be some cameos in some movies towards the end of the year. Might be some mentioning towards the end of the year. It might be a flat-out trailer. Don't know. But my guess is there's probably going to be a little bit of movement. There's probably going to be some words said by like Kevin Feige or something else, like, hey, X-Men is coming. Maybe a little teaser of like showing the X-Men banner or something like that. Or maybe at one of those announcements they show the timeline, they show X-Men in there. Obviously, Wolverine is the biggest X-Men of all. So I think this is going to push this book to a new height. It's Wolverine, so this book is always going to go up. So the risk here is so low, so low. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I've been stockpiling this book. So all these books that I present on here are ones that I personally believe in myself, and I put my money where my mouth is, and I own all these books, multiple copies of a lot of these books. So moving on to #1, the top speculated book that I have for 2022. But before I do, if you haven't subscribed already and you like this kind of content, that helps me out. And if you could like this video, I'd really appreciate it. All right, let's move on to number one. This is actually a very deep speculation because there has been zero news, no nothing. The risk is super high on this, but I think the reward is very good. So this is a book that I've been speculating a long time, and I've been telling people about it. This book is a very deep spec. So it could just go nowhere, but I think this is a good chance. If you want to get into a book really early before anything happens, this is the time to do it. This is the book I believe in. And here we go. Number one spec book is Zelda number 1. A 9.8 sold a year ago on average for $278. Now currently sits at $1750. That is up 529%. A 9.6 sold for $144 a year ago. Now sits for $535. That is up 272%. If you can't get the Zelda 1 first print, there is the Zelda 1 second print. The way you tell the difference is the barcode is on the opposite side, and also on the back cover, the first print has a picture of Fabio, yes Fabio, and the second print has Back to the Future. If you can't get that, another good one to get is Nintendo Comic Systems. This is a bigger book. They're pretty readily available, but it's a very early appearance of Zelda and Mario and all that kind of stuff. If not, you can get the Nintendo Comic System sneak preview, but that is super rare, but it'd be a good one to have because that would hedge your bets against Mario and Zelda. Now, why is this on this list? If you remember if you follow my channel, you remember previous, I had my number one spec, and I released it back in like June, and it was Mario number 1, and I was huge spec on this book. Now, why was I specking on Mario number 1? I looked at Nintendo, I looked at Sega. Sega was doing pretty well with Sonic. The movie already came out. They were making number 2, all that kind of stuff. Nintendo for sure saw that. And the only option for Nintendo to go, they already made their theme park. They already have their video games. They have to get into movies. That was the next step. And lo and behold, they're working on Mario Brothers, starring Chris Pratt as the voice of Mario. So I am speculating next on Zelda. Why Zelda? Well, Mario's already been foregone thing. I already spec'd on it. I'm not going to reuse it again. And I kind of turned out to be right. So I think Zelda will be later down the road. What I think is going to happen? How we had a massive superhero boom with the MCU, all that kind of stuff. I think the next boom will be video game movies. Now, we've had video game movies in the past, and they've all done terrible. But I think with Sonic turning that corner, think of Sonic as Iron Man number 1 from when Marvel made those movies. I think that's going to be like Sonic. Now, we'll never hit, obviously, MCU heights. But I think Mario is going to do a ton of money. Just a ton of money. And then they're going to look back after they see them make like $500 million or something from their Mario movie. And they're like, all right, we're obviously making a Mario 2. But what else could we make? What else does Nintendo own? Obviously, their heavy hitters is Zelda and Metroid. So that's why I'm a spec on those books. I think Zelda will be the next big thing. I don't think there's going to be anything announced in 2022, but I think when Mario comes out at the end of 2022, it's going to do a ton of money, which will then lead everyone to buying up all these other Nintendo books, and it will shoot up way too high for you guys to buy. So I think if you get in now is the best time to get in. And it's high risk, but I think the reward is there and it's worth it. So I hope you like my top 10 speculation comics for 2022. Let me know in the comments below what comics you are specking on this year, and have a great day.